The blood drained from my face as Rachel's voice echoed through the hospital lobby. "What's the unemployed Holly doing here?" Every head in the waiting area turned toward us, and I felt the familiar tightness in my chest that I'd worked so hard to overcome. The antiseptic smell of the hospital suddenly seemed overwhelming as my sister-in-law stood there with that malicious smile. Her voice was deliberately loud enough to ensure everyone heard her label me as society's garbage. My mother was sleeping peacefully just 3 floors above us, recovering from surgery. Meanwhile, I sat here being publicly humiliated by the woman who was supposed to become family. My name is Holly. I'm 33 and a former doctor. This is the story of how I reminded someone that respect isn't something you can learn from a textbook. 2 months earlier, Kenneth and I had registered our civil marriage at the courthouse. We were still planning our wedding ceremony for later in the year. I'd been looking forward to meeting his sister, Rachel. My in-laws had painted her as a dedicated medical student, so busy with her studies that she'd missed our engagement party. "She's brilliant," my mother-in-law had said with obvious pride, passed all her exams on the first try. I'd imagined someone studious and professional, maybe a bit serious from the intensity of medical school. The reality was jarring. 6 weeks after our courthouse ceremony, when we first met her in the shopping district, Rachel had emerged from a crowd. She wore a low-cut dress and heels that clicked against the pavement like warning shots. Her perfume preceded her by several feet, and her first words to me were an assessment of my appearance that made Kenneth's jaw clench. "Kenneth, you're handsome and have a high income, but you married such a plain woman. That's just weird." She'd said it like commenting on the weather, completely unbothered by the shock on our faces. I tried to smooth things over, explaining that we were meeting today, which was what mattered. But Rachel had immediately demanded to know what I did for work. She announced her own future career as a doctor like it was a weapon. When I mentioned being a housewife, her reaction was swift and brutal. "A housewife? That's just like being unemployed. Unemployed people are society's garbage. And now you're my sister-in-law. Are you just a parasite, living off my brother's money?" Kenneth had defended me, but the damage was done. I knew exactly who Rachel was now. Someone who measured human worth by job titles and bank accounts. Someone who would be a dangerous doctor if she ever became one. Now standing in my family's hospital, she was using that same voice to humiliate me in front of doctors who used to be my colleagues. What she didn't know was that she just made the biggest mistake of her medical career. "I came to visit my mom today," I said quietly, hoping to de-escalate. "Maybe we should keep our voices down in the hospital." Rachel ignored me completely. "Wow, your mom's hospitalized. I came here for clinical training today." She glanced around with the confidence of someone who thought she belonged here. "Must be expensive. I bet you're making Kenneth pay for your mother's hospital bills, aren't you? Just like a trashy family would." The gasps from nearby medical staff were audible. Several nurses stopped mid-step, and I noticed Dr. Peterson from cardiology shaking his head in disbelief. These people had known me for years, had seen me work 16-hour shifts, had watched me cry over Patients we couldn't save. Now they were witnessing someone call me trash in the lobby where I used to grab coffee between surgeries. A resident I didn't recognize stepped forward. Hey, enough is enough. But Rachel just laughed. She deserves to be spoken to like this. The resident's face went pale. He muttered, "Your life is over, kid," before walking away, but Rachel seemed oblivious to his meaning. That's when my brother Andrew returned from his patient consultation. Rachel's entire demeanor shifted the moment she saw him. Shoulders back, voice dropping to what she probably thought was a sultry tone, her whole posture changing like she was posing for a magazine. "Andrew," she purred, stepping closer to him. I almost laughed at the transparency of it. She'd researched him, obviously. Young, talented, handsome, and heir to our father's position as hospital director. In Rachel's mind, he was probably her ticket to the wealth and status she craved. "Holly, what's going on?" Andrew asked, using my name with the casual familiarity of someone who'd known me his entire life. Rachel's eyes snapped to me with pure venom. "Andrew, are you close with her?" The way she said her made it sound like I was diseased. "She's married, you know. You should be careful. You're popular. You should watch out for women like her." Andrew stepped back from Rachel, his professional smile faltering. "I know. She's married. She's my sister." The silence that followed was beautiful. Rachel's mouth opened and closed like she was drowning in air. The color drained from her face as she finally understood what she'd just done. "What? You're what?" she stammered. I couldn't help but smile as the pieces fell into place for her. The medical student who tried to intervene earlier leaned over to whisper in Andrew's ear, obviously filling him in on everything Rachel had said. Andrew's expression grew darker with each word. "Wait, so Holly is the daughter of the director of this hospital?" Rachel's voice had lost all its earlier confidence. "Yes, I'm his daughter," I confirmed, my voice steady and clear. "I originally worked here as a doctor. I had to quit due to chronic autoimmune issues that made the long shifts dangerous for both me and my patients. So now I'm recovering and temporarily focusing on being a housewife." Rachel turned ashen. I knew from Kenneth that she'd been hoping to get a job at this hospital after graduation. The realization of what she'd just destroyed was written all over her face. "She's unbelievable as a person," Andrew muttered loud enough for everyone to hear. I looked at Rachel, really looked at her, and felt something. That wasn't quite pity, but wasn't satisfaction either. She was young and probably scared underneath all that bravado, but she was also dangerous. "Rachel seems to be quite excellent as a medical student," I said, and she visibly flinched. "But to easily label people as social garbage or belittle them, that's a problem not just as a doctor but as a human being. Unless you realize what that problem is, you're not qualified to be a doctor." The gathered staff nodded in agreement. A few residents who remembered me from my time here looked at Rachel like she was a cautionary tale come to life. "I believe," Rachel started, but then stopped, looking around at all the disapproving faces. "I don't get it." She turned and tried to leave with whatever dignity she had left, but her rushed exit was interrupted by a sharp Don't run in the hospital from a passing nurse. Startled, Rachel stumbled spectacularly, her heels betraying her, as she went down hard on the polished floor. Andrew and I exchanged glances, and couldn't help but laugh. Sometimes karma doesn't wait for the end of the story. 6 months later, the medical community is surprisingly small, and word travels fast. Rachel's behavior that day had been witnessed by enough people that her reputation preceded her everywhere she went. Her pride and increasing isolation led to heavy drinking. This resulted in her crashing her car into a tree one night after leaving a bar. She spent weeks in intensive care, ironically, as a patient, in the very hospital where she'd hoped to work. According to my in-laws, during her recovery she finally understood the impact of her actions. She personally called me to offer a genuine apology. She acknowledged that her behavior was inexcusable and that she needed to completely reassess her approach to medicine and life. She's taken a year-long break from medical school to work with a therapist. She's also volunteering at community clinics to understand what being a doctor truly means. As for me, I found my calling at a pharmaceutical company. I'm researching and developing medications while ensuring drug safety. It's different from clinical practice, but equally meaningful. My mother made a full recovery and is now helping us plan our formal wedding ceremony, which we've scheduled for next spring. Kenneth and I emerged from this family drama with an even stronger marriage. We'd seen how we support each other when challenged. We've maintained boundaries with Rachel, while leaving the door open for genuine reconciliation if she continues her personal growth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't something you plan. It's simply being exactly who you are when someone tries to tear you down. Rachel thought she could diminish me by calling me unemployed and worthless. Instead, she revealed her own character to everyone who mattered, while I remained exactly who I'd always been. A doctor, a daughter, and someone who understands that true worth isn't determined by a job title or bank account. The people who matter know your value. The people who don't reveal theirs. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing, like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles. Zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.